In 1908, a photograph was taken of a mural painting in cave number 285 at the Mogao Grottos. The same mural was photographed again in 2004. The two photographs show that in the course of less than 100 years, the mural had suffered greatly. The same was the case with many other murals in the Mogao Grottos. The experts predicted that without proper protection, there would be nothing left to see in the caves in 50 or 100 years. The Mogao Grottos are located in a rocky face of the Singing Sand Mountain, 25 kilometers southeast of the city of Dunhuang in Gansu province. The caves were created between the 4th and the 14th centuries. During this period, a cave complex was dug and filled with numerous statues and murals. The Mogao Grottos are an extraordinary gallery of Buddhist art, where there are on display some of the finest examples of architecture, sculptures, and murals. In total, the caves contain more than 3,000 painted sculptures, as well as 45,000 square meters of murals, an area equivalent to that of 5.5 football pitches. The Mogao Grottos were named a World Cultural Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1987 in recognition of their long history, vast scale, profound cultural connotation, and refined art. If you stand on Sanwei Mountain and look westward, you can see Singing Sand Mountain, in the middle of which is the cliff with the Mogao Grottos. Some experts say that in Turkic, Mogao means holy. Centuries ago, the story goes, a monk named Le Zun began to dig grottos and carve sculptures here after seeing the light of the Buddha. But the place he chose was near a desert and affected by the high-pressure front from Mongolia. And ever after, the Mogao Grottos have suffered from frequent drought and sandstorms. The drifting sand has been a constant threat to the Mogao Grottos. But for many generations, families took care of their own grottos, and thanks to their efforts, the sand did not cause any major damage. By the Yuan and Ming dynasties, however, the families had left Dunhuang and the grottos were abandoned. In the late Qing dynasty a century ago, the Mogao Grottos were found by chance, buried under centuries of sand. Since the 1940s, many ways have been tried of halting the encroaching sand. First, a wall was built, but it didn't work. Later, a channel was dug to divert the sand away, but it was soon itself buried. In describing the situation, the locals would say that when the winds came, the sand would come down like rain. Recently, people have begun planting grass on the mountains as a way of keeping the sand in place. The next step has been to plant a forest belt as a defensive shield. 10,000 shrubs have been planted, not only to block the drifting sand, but also to achieve a positive adjustment to the climate conditions. Thanks to the forest, the amount of sand entering the Mogao Grottos has been reduced by more than 80%. Even so, this does not mean the problem has been solved entirely. Years of sand erosion has caused heavy damage to the grottos. It has contributed to the changing color of many of the murals and the disintegration of some pieces. A survey has shown that more than 4,000 square meters of murals have been damaged. 250 of the caves, more than half of the total, have also suffered partial damage. Clearly then, the repair of the murals and grottos is a huge and vital undertaking. After a tour of the Mogao Grottos, visitors head for the exhibition center. Invariably, they are surprised by what awaits them there. The exhibition center offers visitors a sight of priceless cultural relics from the northern part of the Mogao Grottos. It also has on display copies of the murals done by famous artists. A highlight of a visit is the 8 replica grottos. The 8 replica grottos at the exhibition center depict various eras in the Mogao Grotto's history. The real grottos are not open to visitors, and the mural copies are the only chance to see what's in them. After the year 366, when artists first began work in the Mogao Grottos, many centuries of construction and painting followed. 1600 years later, the painters of today are determined to preserve the work of their predecessors. Copying the murals is a key measure in the protection of the Mogao Grottos. Since the Dunhuang Art Institute was set up in 1944, the murals have been copied under a systematic plan designed to facilitate the protection and research of Dunhuang's art and culture. Thanks to the efforts of nearly 60 painters, more than 2,000 copies of the murals have been completed in 60 years. In the Mogao Grottos, 3 methods of copying are employed. The first is objective copying, which produces an exact replica of the murals as they are, however old and broken. The aim is to be as realistic as possible. The second method is repair copying, which involves covering over the broken parts of the mural and keeping the color as it is. The last resort of copying is called restoration copying, which is to revert to the painting's original state and color. To ensure that the copied works maintain the true spirit of the original, the painters have to visit the grottos on numerous occasions. First, they produce a sketch outline, to which they add colors. The paints they use are identical to those used by the creators of the Mogao Grottos.
这颜色现在在塑料袋里头，看不太清啊。是这个加胶水，完全是按照这个古人的这个磨制的方法来进行这个研制的。你看它这个颜色哈，多么饱和，这是不同的红。这个呢，就是完全是从这个矿石研磨啊。这是一种土红，它这个是加了胶水，然后这个来凝结成块的，制成的这样的。 因为它这个红的种类也是非常多的，因为现在我们是作为现状的这个临摹的话呢，因为它那个颜色很多东西在变化啊，那么这个里头有很多很微妙的这种色彩变化，那么就需要很丰富的颜色来支持它。
Compared to copying a mural, much more energy is needed to copy an entire grotto. In fact, it requires a team of painters working together. They start by producing life-size drawings of the murals and statues, which they divide into groups. Replicating an entire grotto usually takes the artists at least a year. But they believe it's worth it, since there is no better way of protecting the Mogao Grottos while allowing people to see their treasures. The Dunhuang Institute has recently established a digital center. The latest digital photography technology and digital image processing technology are used to compile detailed images of the murals. Based on these, They recreate the images through a process of geometric and color correction. The use of such advanced technologies is a key measure of saving the Mogao grottos. They provide vital information that will have a major influence on the future of the Mogao grottos. In an effort to teach more people about the Mogao grottos, the Dunhuang Institute has organized special exhibitions in several countries.